Good morning. Can you guys hear me? All right. Looks like a lot of people are coming in here. Welcome. Hope everyone's day is starting out well. Yes. Woohoo. Welcome, Beth, Brandon, Katie, Karen. How's everybody doing today? It's Monday and our finals week. Pretty exciting. We have a Thanksgiving coming up, which is kind of exciting too. So I'm starting. You know what? I think I still have a little cough. The nose thing still is going on, but you know what? That's, if that's it, I'm good. I'm still fighting the good fight. So we'll see how I get through here. Not coughing as much, but it's just like one of those things that just stays for a little longer. But thank you for asking. Did everybody have a nice weekend? Did anybody do anything fun? You studied? Okay. Got some work done. I know you guys are probably starting to get into the holiday spirit probably and wanting to, looking forward to your break, I guess I should say. There you go. Aw, that's good. Snuggle up. I gave my fur baby lots of lovin's too. Very cool. Well, good. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I did have a lot of you submit your work for this week. I was pretty excited to see that part of it, as far as how many submissions for week 3. So great job. And let's move that energy into this week and end strong this week. For those of you who still owe me work, there are some of you who do. Get that in as soon as possible. For possible credit, and I can't accept anything after this Saturday because of grades. So make sure you're getting that in as soon as possible, and I can see what's going on there. Okay. Yeah, I know you guys are probably so excited for your break coming up. I know that's kind of like one of those things where it's like, oh, you get burned out, and but just try to get to end this week strong, so that you can enjoy your break and feel good about it. So that's always the better way to go. Does anybody have any questions for me before we get started here with this lecture? Any questions, thoughts, concerns? Sounds good, Katie. I'm looking forward to it. I have been flexible with a lot of you guys who have had some issues going on, and as long as you're communicating with me, I'm good. As soon as possible. I'm not obviously less flexible if you don't turn anything in until week 4, and then you say, oh, you didn't contact me until late too. So just make sure you're keeping up contact with me. It seems like a lot of you guys are, so that's good. No questions? Okay. So we are in week 4. This is live lecture 1. Thank you. And we have only this lecture and tomorrow, pretty much, and then we'll be done with lectures. So great. So just make sure that if you haven't listened to the lectures in the past, and I know some of you guys, with some of your questions to me, it seems like maybe you did not review the recording or weren't in the lecture. So just make sure before you're emailing me questions that you're reviewing all of the lectures so that you have, you're prepared to ask me beyond what you saw in lecture. Because a lot of the times, like you guys know, I do step-by-step demos and answer questions throughout. I actually approach the projects in each lecture. And then I also try to show examples if I have them. So that will clarify a lot of things and really save you guys time. These lectures are about an hour and a half, and that seems like a long time, but like if you're sitting there wondering what to do and you're waiting for me to email you back, and then it's like, okay, you could have gotten this done a long time ago if you would have just listened to the lecture. It just kind of makes sense. So, all right, so learning objectives for this week. You guys are going to be really kind of putting what you've been working on last week into a mock-up. And we're going to be also talking about information design in regards to the future of information design. Where is it going? Considering developing technologies and software, we're going to be discussing that. We're going to develop a cohesive user experience interface that supports best practices of hierarchy and principles of design. Use a developed content strategy to design a user-friendly interactive experience, and create an interactive mock-up to present a user interface concept to a client. How many of you actually went out and looked at a kiosk recently? I know I was in the airport not too long ago and used the kiosk. Okay, yeah, sometimes, I mean, I was just curious. You know, I had mentioned before that might be a good idea just to go and look, just to see how the screens interact and what you like about it, maybe what you don't like about it. Yes, yes, yeah, like, you know, we have Sheets here too. If you walk into Sheets, you know, there's little kiosks that you order your food. All of that is user experience, you know, applications. That's a little different than what we're working on client-wise here, but it's the same, you know, outcome as far as how the ease of it. You know, was it easy for you to use and go through? Yep, Sheets is a big place here, yeah. And I think there's some other places that are definitely using more kiosks now as far as like gas stations and all that good stuff. But I was just curious how many of you actually went and maybe even not even meant to do it for this class, but had some experience with some kiosks over the weekend, even in the mall, airports, gas stations. Excuse me. Okay, so, well, for the most part, this is what we're going over, and this is in your week 4 objective. So this is what you guys are going to be walking away from. Oh, okay. Yeah, Sheets is a big deal here. Um, it's like the Flying J down south, I guess. Uh, and I guess Wawa is a big one too, down south. Never heard of it. Okay, more of an Eastern thing. All right, so go ahead and check out. There's like a little quick video here about user experience and definition of it. So if you're still kind of, you know, want to know more about it, you definitely can check that out video-wise. Course media, don't forget, you guys, you have required readings, supplemental resources in your media. I'm going to scroll way down here to week 4. And you have some articles in here that may help you understand a little bit better about user experience. So this one's How the Intelligent Web Will Change Our Interactions, kind of an interesting article, and it shows what it covers in that article. The next one is is this the future of infographics? You know, kind of debating what's going on, what they think that's going to be, how it's going to evolve throughout our future. 7 tips for touch-friendly kiosk user interface design. That might be something that you definitely want to check out for, you know, what you guys are working on screen-wise. Design principles, always going back to those principles, because that's our foundation of what we do. Focal points, hierarchy, super important. If we don't have that, you know, our design will fail, it won't be as effective. Oh, there you go, Speedway. Yeah, I know, I've been to Speedways. Visual hierarchy, another one. Visual hierarchy, how well does your design communicate? And then, yeah, KISS, keep it simple. And then you have your LinkedIn Learning. How have you guys do you guys find that better than the lynda.com videos? I know we kind of switched. How's that working for you guys? Better? Excuse me. Good. Yeah, so with this week, it goes over chapter 3, work with interactive objects. So it talks about understanding buttons. So that would definitely be a great, and there's just one section here. Okay, you had trouble fix it. Okay. So definitely check that out. That will, you know, kind of be a great support material for what you guys are working on this week? Okay, good. So you had issues with the lynda.com. Interesting. Yeah, we had a lot of complaints about that. So, um, not complaints, but I guess issues with usability. So, oh, password. Yeah. Yeah. So good. I'm glad it's working for you guys. So that'll definitely, be a great resource there. Oh, okay. Good. All right. So as you go forward with your discussions, you will have a discussion this last week. Make sure you're ending strong and gaining all the 60 points for this because it all adds up in the end. Um, but we are going to be talking about the future of information design, and it's just kind of things to consider. Go ahead and read through this. I'm not going to read it word for word. I'm just going to go over the prompt here and see if you have any questions. So you're going to discuss, you're going to, let me hear. Okay, so your prompt, let me zoom in here so you guys can see this a little bit better. Okay, so there's a source here that you can check out before, but what we're going to be discussing is how you imagine the future of information design. Think about this. Where do you see this future going as far as, think about almost like the Jetsons, what's going to happen in the future. Research to developing technologies and hypothesize on how they will affect the future of information delivery, distribution, and consumption. So how it would be delivered, distributed, and consumed. In your post, share your findings and your thoughts on how these developments might affect your work as a designer, because as trends go forward and things evolved in regards to how information is delivered, what does that mean for us in our role as a designer? Do we have to learn new strategies? Do we have to learn new, applications, technology, all that good stuff? In your comments, build on your classmates' ideas and see where they may lead. Maybe you'll be involved in bringing in a new age of communication. So think about something that maybe you think that we would, something that you maybe wish we could have that you think, oh, this would be really cool. I could see this going like technology-wise. I can see how, the future of kiosks can take us further. Think of some ideas, maybe um, inventing something that you believe that could be something that we could use in the future to help our processes or, the way we do things. So it's kind of a fun thing to think about, like where do you see this going in terms of how it can improve, design and usability. For your citation, you might use articles that show examples of new media technology. I don't know if you guys ever watch Shark Tank. There's always new technology ideas coming up. Yeah, with people just, hey, I had a problem and this is something that I want to try to fix. And I think that this could fix it. And a lot of it is using technology to fix that. So think about that. You can also find new articles from experts that suggest changes to current media distribution. You might find articles that talk about what they foresee in the future that you might want to pull into your discussion and say, use that as a citation and then kind of add your 2 cents to it, whether you believe that that's something that could happen, would happen, or may not happen. The new hand motion technology, that's kind of cool. Yeah, so you might want to bring up something about that, something that, yep. So think about all the possibilities, holograms, all that very cool. We use physical things like kiosks, but what if it was a hologram, like a smart screen, but without the screen, it's more of a hologram type thing. Those things there are things that are out there that are being tested and so it's kind of neat to think about, you know, where we're going to be. I mean, think about where we've been 5, 10 years ago, and how much technology has evolved. Okay. Katie, did you see my question about previous discussion posts? No. In this chat? I must have missed it. Go ahead, ask me again. I'm sorry. While she, okay, if we forgot to do replies in the previous week. but went back to correct that. Will that improve our grade? Yes, just let me know. And did you send me an email about that? Somebody did. I think it was, okay. Yeah, definitely respond, but you email me, and I'm going to be going through my emails later today. So um, I will go back. The reason why I say email me if you do that, because I don't get prompted that you responded. So I don't know that you responded because it's, past due. So I will go back and give you the appropriate points for that. Okay, good. All right. So just think about how you can show different examples of new technology, media technology. You can show images that kind of explain, what it is you're talking about. Maybe there's something out there that's being tested now or being used now that you think, ooh, I can see how this can, evolve in regards to information design. Don't forget to hit upon your reply and your response requirements, having those citations in there. And then when you respond to your peers, it'll be neat to see what everybody's opinion is and perspective on this. You can kind of add on to their ideas and, kind of talk about that a little further in detail and debate together. Yep. Where we were 10 years ago today, the tech timeline is amazing. Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't want to say it's scary, but as a designer, man, we got to be on our toes, don't we? We definitely have to keep up with our, you know, being updated and kind of keeping ourselves up to date with everything. Yep. So, we have to make sure that I always like to say I'm a life learner. I think a lot of the times, even, I mean, designers for sure, but in life now, we almost have to always be life learners on our own too. When you're going outside of school, once you graduate, you're going to be still going through training and updating yourself, hopefully evolving yourself, and you may have to do it on your own. And life investigator, there you go. Yep. So you're constantly, as a designer, hopefully on top of trends, kind of in the know of what's going on so that you're training yourself. If obviously missed the mark in school, I've done that all my life. I went back to school 10 years after I graduated with my bachelor's. And there was so much stuff that like in graduate school that we never covered in my bachelor program. But it was 10 years difference too. Yep, exactly. Yep. So, it's just the fact that you're keeping yourself refreshed, up to date, and in the know is and kind of getting in that pattern is a good thing to do as a designer. I've known many of my past fellow classmates when I was going through my bachelor's degree who graduated, got a job in a design, like an agency, probably worked there for a year and then got out of it because of something happened, and then wanted to come back in after 3 years and was like, oh my gosh, even 2 years, you know, because they went outside of it for like 2 years and everything changed so much, software, everything, they just felt so outdated because they never kept up with it. So it's really important to make sure that you're keeping up to it, even if you're not working in the field and you decide you want to back again. It's just brushing up on those skills. But what's cool about technology nowadays is you can brush yourself up in many ways, like LinkedIn Learning, and there's other sources out there, very free online, that you can keep yourself up to date and in the know for trends and stuff like that. I'm always doing faculty development myself, which keeps me up to date on a lot of things. So in YouTube, yep. Any questions about the discussion though? No? Okay, so start thinking about some cool things to discuss. I think that will be an interesting and intriguing discussion this week. Awesome. Don't forget too, you have a career integration quiz, and that's every mod. You guys have that. Don't forget to just not copy and paste your answers in there. You want to be specific to this class, and share your insight on those questions being asked. This is a part of your design process, by the way. You know, we go through a design process where you should be as a designer, even a student designer, where you're getting, you know, doing your process steps throughout a project. And the reflection part is part of the end part of the process. Even as a designer, working designer, you should be reflecting on what you've learned on that project that you created, what you can do better, what you liked about the project, and your strengths and weaknesses, so that you can improve, look back and see if anything needs to be fixed, changed, or whatever. It's all part of the process. So that career integration quiz is kind of a reflection of what you believe your progress was within the 4 weeks of this class. So don't forget, that's something definitely, you know, worth getting all the points for too, because I believe it's kind of like an easier thing to do. Okay, I got some crumbs on my keyboard. Sorry about that. All right, so the discussion we talked about, so go ahead and get that started. And then we are going to be doing, you guys are going to be turning your strategy sketches from last week of your interface screens for the client that you chose, and we're going to be creating screens in Photoshop. Okay, and we're going to set up the document to fit either the provided mock-up that's given, and there's a size in the assignment details, or if you want to use a different one, be sure to use the proper dimensions to fit that screen. Okay, so let me go right into the actual assignment details here, so we're all clear and ready to go with that specific information here. All right, so go ahead and read through the, talks about the principles of design and white space, all that good stuff, down to the prompt. I'm going to read these. Let me know if you have any questions after I'm done here. So this week you will use your content strategy and icons from week 3's assignment to design the final screens and then show them in a mocked up setting. Your assignment instructions, you're going to create the screens of Photoshop, set up the document size to fit either the provided mockup, so 602 pixels by 392 pixels, or if you want to use a different one, be sure to use the proper dimensions to fit that screen. You can use the artboard or layer comp feature in Photoshop to see the visual flow from screen to screen. So like what I said before when we were doing the last week's discussion, lecture, that if you were, before you laid out your screens for your strategy, if you wanted to look up another mock-up other than what's provided, and it's a different screen size, you know, definitely look up that mock-up first so that you have that ratio ready to go and you're not changing too much. Okay, so lay out each screen using your planned out text, colors, map, and symbol icons. Use the existing logo for the store and keep the look of the existing brand. So import your logo, maps, symbols, icons as smart objects so you can scale them as needed. Keep in mind the hierarchy of your elements to clearly guide the user through your interface. Save each screen as a separate file. Use the provided InDesign template you can download here and mock up the home screen on the kiosk. Optional, create your own layout composition in InDesign and use your own mock-up image, keeping in mind best practices for a clean and professional presentation. Combine the 4 screens and mock up and save as a multi-page PDF for your submission. All right, name your file as such, PDF at the end. Submit a multi-page PDF presentation of your screens and mocked ups for grading. Upload the PDF to your Behance portfolio site and copy paste the link to it in the comments. And you're going to email the link to your FPA and you're going to CC me with that email as well. If you don't know who your FPA is, let me know. I will look it up. And I am an FPA, so you might actually be emailing me if I'm assigned to you. So just kind of an FYI out there. All right. Just make sure you're keeping your working files. That means, you know, if you're working in Photoshop, you're keeping those PSD files for any additional changes that you need to do. Any questions so far? How many of you have maybe a mock-up that wasn't provided in here. You're not using the mock-up, but you have one that you want to use, like a PSD mock-up. Okay. Okay, this is your mock-up. Okay, let's take a look at this. Oh, okay, very cool. I'll share that to everybody so everybody can see. So I explained this in lecture last week that you can go and look up, I wouldn't pay for it. So look up free screens that, if you want to do something different than what's provided, you definitely can do. PSD mockups are easy to use once you get, all of your designs created in Photoshop. So this is a good view. The screen's nice and big. The ratio is nice. Looks good. Yep, I like the style too. Very good. So you might want to, look into that. Obviously, I was hoping you did that. Let me see here. What are you doing? Oh, initially, so you know what ratio size screen that you were going to use. 7.5 by 5.5. Yeah. So that way, you're not changing too much if you did, have a strategy for your overall screen ratio already for that fit, for specific fit. Okay. Let's see here. I am going to, let me delete this here. Hold on 1 second. Now I'm going to show you some examples of past student work too today. Okay. So there's different ways that you can do this. I'm going to show you, because it talks about doing this in Photoshop too. I'm going to show you how. Let me see here. Let me see if I can show you. Give me 1 second here. Let me pull up. Because I did this a little differently for the demo the last time I taught this class. I actually created the screens in Illustrator, and then I easily plunked them into the mockup that way. I didn't actually put them into Photoshop. So let me see here real quick. Yeah, I saved them out as JPEGs. Okay. Just trying to see how to, all right. So you guys are given this, let me show you this presentation too here. And we'll talk about this before we go any further here. All right, so I just want to show you that, and we're going to go over this tomorrow, so just give you a heads up here. So for assessment 4, we are going to be presenting an interactive interface. So after you're done creating your screens and your mock-ups, we are going to be creating a presentation for that. So in that regards, it's going to be, it's provided to you guys. There's of course media to go to. That's going to be provided in InDesign. So it's going to look like this, and you can put in your information. So you can put your mock-up, and it doesn't have to be how this is laid out. Like if you want to put it elsewhere, that's fine. But you're going to put your mock-up first screen here in the mock-up, and then the flat screen to show here. And then you can have the description of the function of the screens and so on. So this would be the second screen, third screen, fourth screen. So I just wanted to show you, you will be presenting this as you go forward here. Okay, so let's go, let me see, because I actually have, let me see what my document setup is here. I kind of started my mock-ups in Illustrator, and I did 8.5 by 5.5 for my screens, and that would be the fit for that mock-up that's provided. So 8.5 by 5.5. All right, so I'm going to go, and I know you guys can't see, I'm going into Photoshop right now. And I'm going to create the 8.5 by 5.5 screen. And I believe, let me see what that is in pixels. 612 by 396. Let me show you what I'm doing here. Okay, so I went File, New, and I typed in 8.5 by 11, or I'm sorry, 8.5 by 5.5. If I change this to pixels, it'll show you what it is in pixels here. And then this should be 72. RGB is fine, transparent's fine, click create. And then I'm gonna lose here because it bumps me out. All right, so this is the screen the screen size that I have for that mock-up that's provided. Now, if you have a different size screen, like maybe it's more vertical, make sure you get that ratio of that screen. I don't know if I actually have a different mock-up to show you how to look for that. Let me look in my folder here real quick. Let me see. No, I don't. Okay. I thought maybe, oh, here's templates now. Kiosks, no. Okay, figured I'd try. Typically, just get a good ratio range, kind of gather that, whatever you kind of, if you did it by hand on your sketches, just kind of make a good size. Think about what a good size screen would be. It could be, I wouldn't go super small, so I wouldn't go I would go bigger than an iPad, so just kind of think about that. Don't go too small and don't go like huge. You want to think about that. If you have problems with the ratio, is that what you meant? Okay, so what do you mean by that? Like, if your ratio is off, you would just, in your mock-up, you'd have to fix it in your actual screen mock-up. So let me fill this here. I'm in Photoshop. Let me fill this with white. And let's see, my background color, white here. All right. Here, I got all kinds of stuff open here. Let me fix my screen so I can see what's going on here. Here we go. All right. So remember those icons that we were doing in Illustrator? I think the better way to do this is, doing the icons in Illustrator is probably the best way to go because they're vector files instead of doing them in Photoshop. Does that make sense to you guys? It's like when you're creating a logo. Yes. So my suggestion, and let me switch back to I'm going back to Illustrator here, would be in that regards, this was kind of what I was working on with you guys, and I had it sketched out, would be to create these in Illustrator, the icons. Create your buttons. You don't even have to do the button shape, but I would definitely create this so that it's easily exported out of Illustrator, and then you're not doing it in Photoshop where your pixels are going to be an issue. It may be an issue, but you can export out of Illustrator, and that would make more sense. Does that make sense to you guys? So I think the step in here, the extra step would be make your screen sizes in Illustrator, create your layouts and your icons in Illustrator so that you can export this out and place into your Photoshop screens. Now, you don't have to do everything exporting out. Like, for instance, say your location map screen. If you wanted to create this in Photoshop instead of Illustrator, that's fine. All I'm saying is, obviously you have the target or the logo to place in there already, but the icons and the buttons, I would say have them ready to go in Illustrator and export that out. So for instance, if this is your first screen, once you're done with your icon design and your buttons, I would go to File, Export, and I would say Export As, and I would name this Home Screen. I would save it. I'm going to save this on my desktop here. As a ping file, okay? The ping file is what you'll use so that the background is transparent. But you have to do this next step. So I would use Artboard. Go ahead and click on that. And then I would specify page 1 because this is Artboard 1. When you hit export, the next important thing to look at is that this background color is transparent. Resolution's fine. You can keep that as is and click OK. Now that's just going to save my first screen as a ping file. So once I have everything kind of laid out, I just placed the logo in here, just file place, and I sized it. I created these squares using my square with rounded corners. I did all the icons in Illustrator, just so you know like how I did this, and then the type also was done in Illustrator. And then I go to Photoshop and I go back to my screen. I know what screen size I'm doing. Just go File, Place. Go back to the Photoshop. Go File, Place. Place embedded and linked are two different things. Placing linked your file won't be as big, but it will have to link to a specific image. So you'll have to always have that image there in order to view it. If you place embedded, it won't need to link to an image. The file is going to be a little bit bigger because of that. So that's just the differences between the two, if you were wondering. Okay, so home page. So I did File, Embedded, and I'm going to go Home Page, Place. And because it's the same size as my canvas, I'm just going to go ahead and plop it in there. It may look a little pixelated because we're viewing it at 200% down here. I don't know if you guys see that. So 100% would be this. And this is 72 pixels per inch. What we're using this, this is kind of what you're viewing it as in a Photoshop form. So it will be a little, if I really zoom in, you'll see the pixels because I'm zooming in like 800%. Just to kind of give you a heads up. If you're viewing it larger than 100, it's going to look pixelated. Okay, so this would be the home screen. And it's already done, so it's kind of easy, right? Yes. And you don't have to save each screen file in Photoshop. Just use them as layer files. So what I mean by that is we just plug this in here. I'm going to name this home screen. And then you can hide this and go ahead and create your second screen. And your second screen you can either do in Illustrator and then import like I just did, or you can create it in, because if it's really complicated and you think it's easier to do in Illustrator and export just like we did, that's fine. If you're not changing too much of it, you can do it from scratch too, if you want to, so I'm going to show you real quick what I mean by that. So I'm going to go back into Illustrator, and this isn't quite finished, but it's somewhat what I want it to look like. So I'm going to go File, Export As, and I'm going to just export the second screen, and then I'm going to name this screen Map. I'm just going to name it Map just for ease. And I'm going to save it to my desktop, export, 300 pixels per inch, transparent, click OK. Now this is just for me so that I can place this in as a template. If I wanted to design it in Photoshop, my second screen, I can use this as a template. So I'm going to go File, Place Embedded, And I'm going to place my map in here. Now you can do this and just keep it the way it is, and so be it if it's already done. But if you want to do it from scratch, you can use this as a template. So let me go ahead and bring up layers. And let me pull this in here so you guys can see. And we're going to name this map template. And we're going to make this a template layer. So let's see here. I don't know if I have to make this non-smart object here. Let me see. Yeah, I don't know if I have to convert this smart object first. Here, let me see. Oh, no, not convert. I'm sorry. I want to rasterize this. Let me rasterize this first. So I go up to layer, and I want to rasterize so there's no smart object there anymore. It rasterizes it into one flat image. And now, it looks like I can't use that as, okay. I thought there was a template option in here, but it looks like there is not. Let me see first, panel options. No, that's like the size. Okay, so what I would suggest is locking this template layer. Before you lock it, you can definitely take the opacity down so you can see through it. And you can lock this layer so that you're not going to do anything to it. Create a new layer, and we'll just name this location map. That will be your location map screen. So you're basically just using this as a template to trace over if that's something that you want to kind of do and design in Photoshop. So I'm going to go in here and go ahead and design this. And again, this is if you don't want to import it strictly from Illustrator and use the oops, let's see here, select all. Use the actual ping as is. Okay, so let me go get my character, make this a lot bigger. There we go. Home screen, location map, and search. The nice thing about doing this in Illustrator is you have a little bit of, it's a little easier to do different things with your, it's a little easier to handle your type in Illustrator than it is in Photoshop. For some reason, you know, Photoshop is basically for image manipulation, not really for type placement. But you can do it, and that's kind of why I'm showing you this. If you want to go this route, that's fine. But if it's easier to do it and then export it out like I showed you, go for it. Okay, because sometimes it's just easier to do certain things alignment-wise and type placement-wise. Let's see, here's a tent. And oops, what am I doing? There we go. All right, and let's see, this is going to be on top, so I'm going to make this white. I'm going to bring this over top. There's my buttons. Okay, that's locked. That's not what I wanted to grab. All right, so if I hid this map, that's kind of what I just did right there. So I'm using this as a template. Then I can go in and use my shapes or whatever you need to do to create the rest of this. Let's see here. Shapes are down here. You got your squares. So this is something that you can easily replicate in Photoshop. All right, so then you could just make a copy of that. Whoops, I just undid this. Copy. Any questions about that? I'm just kind of manipulating this to kind of fit the my template here. There we go. Oops. As far as, placing in your logo, I'll show you how to do that too. Give me a second here. All right. These are all my grouped. These are all my grouped pieces here. So we'll just link these layers together and then we can hide them. Okay, when you link them together, you can move them together. It's all good. All right, so then I'm going to create a new text, file or text here. I'm going to name home. Just kind of like what I did before. Electronics. And I think this is really light gray, so I'll probably change this here. If you don't want to use a template for this, let me get, and you just want to recreate it in here, that's fine too. I was just doing that for the sake of keeping everything aligned. And okay, get this darker here. The same. Okay. But the idea is just creating these pieces in here and apparel. And then you can kind of apply it to your mock-up in an easy way here. Okay, list of departments. That's more bold, right? Smaller in size. All right. If I spelled electronics right or wrong here, but I think I'm good. Okay. And then I just need my logo. So if I go File, Place, Embedded, the logo that you downloaded, it should be, it's in my folder here. Give me 1 second. You should have it already because you guys were playing around with that last week. So look for your logo. Where's my logo at? I need to find my logo here. Lecture and demo target. And then you can size it down. Oops. To place in there. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete the template layer once I'm done. All right, and then you can create your arrows, which I believe you might have. Let's see here. I think you have brush arrows that we can also download if we need them. No, maybe I'm thinking of symbols. I'm thinking of that in Illustrator here. Give me 1 second. Symbol, symbol. All right. If you are, let's see here, brush settings. I think there was like brushes, but maybe not. Libraries. Huh. Okay. Let me zoom in on this and make this 100%. And I can show you things that you can try if that's something that you need to do in regards to creating. Let me unlock this. Creating something that you might not be able to create in Photoshop. So like, for instance, these, I don't know, there should be a line. Let me see. It's escaping my mind right now, so give me 1 second. There should be like a line option. I'm kind of getting it. Should we create outlines for the text? Yeah, if you are exporting it out for using it, well, you know what? You might not have to worry about that because that only kind of is for purposes of once you place it into Photoshop, it's basically going to flatten your file. It's going to take it from a font to an image right away. So let me see if I can do something with this pen tool here and create a line. With this, I usually don't do a lot of line work in here. That's why I'm like, is there an option to do stuff like this? There is a line tool too. Let's do the line tool and see if that gives you any options for. So the line tool is basically in your shapes. Oops, I shouldn't have deleted that, sorry. And there should be an option for an arrow. Let's see. Yep. Shape, path, tool, black arrow. It looks like I don't have anything loaded in here as far as arrows are concerned. I need to load some tool presets here, and I don't think I have anything. Let me see, maybe I do. Custom shapes, custom toolbars, brushes, actions. We're looking for, oh, I have nothing in there. These are all empty. Okay, that's really odd. Okay, so let me just say, if you have a shape like this, I would just do it in Illustrator and bring it in here. I think there's definitely a way to create arrows in here. I'm just like, it's eluding me right now. So you can do lines, but I don't see more options here. There's dash lines that you can do. There should be a preset up here for an arrow, and I'm sure there is. Let's see, but I'm not finding it here. Let me find the caps. Maybe that'll change. Nope. Okay. I'd have to look that up for you guys. I apologize, and I'm not going to sit here and try to figure it out and waste the time. But there should be a way to create arrows in here. I'll check it out and do a little research. But for now, I'll just kind of use what I have in here as a template. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on my template layer here, and I'm going to just select, let's see, how am I going to do this? Because I'm kind of replicating this screen, I'm just going to select what I don't need with my selection tool. So the marquee tool, the marching ants tool, I'm going to select what I've already created and I don't need anymore in my template layer. And I'm going to hit delete on my keyboard. Now my squares aren't showing because I have them hidden here. And then I can do the same here with the logo. And that's just going to allow me to have, if I hide this, you'll see my arrows. That's the only thing that's on this layer. Like I said, I'm not quite sure. I'll have to dig into the details of how to create arrows in Photoshop. I apologize. But for the most part, if you wanted to recreate your screen, that's how you would do it. And then what you can do is all of this screen here that you created for your location map, if you wanted to group all this together so you know they're all together, you can do a shift select all of your links, and you can do a link layer, and you can actually put it into a group. New group from layers, and we can call this location map screen. So that's all kind of in that folder. Does that make sense? And it's, you know, you have a little bit more. It's under shapes, the line tool. Here, let me see. Window. Oh, okay. Shapes. I don't see shapes, but combine shapes under a layer. I'll just have to figure it out. There is a way. It's just, it's eluding me right now. Window for shapes. Yeah, I don't see shapes up there, although I do see shape up here. Yeah, I don't have it. There should be a line with arrows here that it's probably something I just don't have loaded. Yeah, like symbols almost. Yep. So if I hid all of this and I just wanted to show my home screen, there's my home screen. And then if I wanted to just show this screen, yeah, that is very odd. I'm going to take a look at that in a sec, you know, when we're done here. I can show my location map screen. And then let's do a file place. Let me go back to Illustrator here real quick. And this is the next screen that I have right here. So I'm going to export. I'm going to export all of these just because I'll be needing them anyway. Desktop. We're going to name this search screen. And I'm just going to do this individually. So I have them all saved out individually as a specific name. So this is Artboard 3. Okay. And then I'll export my fourth one. And I'll name this search result screen. And 4. Save to my desktop so I know where it's at. This one is just for my icons, so I don't have to export that. You know what? I haven't upgraded yet, so that might be it. I was thinking about that too. I was thinking about that too. Yeah, I kind of was waiting a little longer to do the upgrade, but I definitely need to do that. Maybe I'll do that on break so that if anything were to happen, I'm not going to lose out on my computer if something were to happen. But that's definitely a good, yeah, it's definitely a good suggestion. That could be it. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Photoshop here. Yeah, they just came out with that new software that I have not updated to it yet. Just takes time. All right, so I'm going to go File, Place. I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to name this Search Screen. And I'm going to go File, Place, Embedded. I'm going to place that third screen in there. Where is it? Search screen. There we go. A window and then shapes. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. But there has to be another way to get to it. So I'm wondering in this version. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. So Beth found out that if you're looking for the arrow, and there are arrow options for that, Beth, arrow line option shapes. Oh, awesome. So if you are on the new version, and I'm not up there yet, I didn't update yet. If you're doing the 2020 version, in Photoshop, you would go under Window and then Shapes. Okay, thank you very much. All right, so now that I kind of have my elements that are always going to be on here, like for example, I will always have my navigation bar here, just, you know, it's always kind of ever present. Let me unlink these here real quick. And once they're linked, I can't move them around. So what I can do, just to keep everything organized, is just make a copy of the specific things that will always be in there. So, you know, obviously my location, and then my navigation bar, I mean, and home, location map, all the part of that on the top where the navigation bar is what I want to copy. So I'm going to do a Shift Select. And what else? I need template too, right? Yeah, on this, I need to Shift Select that. And then the logo, which is right here, will always be the same. Okay, so these are all the same consistent layers that I want on my next layer. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag and make a copy. And I'm going to definitely pull this up over the top so I know what I'm doing here. And then they're all together. And I'm going to hide this and search screen. And all of these, I'm going to select in the same group. I'm going to create a new group. And I'm going to name this search screen. Just so I have everything in here together. Okay, thank you. Awesome. So basically, I just copied the, why isn't this opening up? That's weird. Copied that information in that same group so that, you know, it's going to be located, if you hide it, it will be located, it will be still showing because I duplicated it and put it into a new layer. Search. There we go. Okay. So I just still need to delete some of this stuff in here. Oh, okay. Hold on, let me rasterize this first. If it's a smart object, you'll need to rasterize it if you want to delete any type of information on there. So that's kind of what I just did there. I don't really need all this. Okay, let's see here. That's that information. Okay, so I'll go back to that, but I'm going to lock this because that's my template. Oop. There we go. All right, so now I can use this as a reference for my next, you know, kind of plotting this out. And let's see here. We're going to do this. Where's my paths? Here we go. All right, so I'm just kind of going to change this path so that I select it. Let's do a new path here. Let me delete this. There we go. Okay, let me go back to this here. Where, and this path will have I want to delete that or copy that. I want to add a stroke on this. So I'm going to just do layer style stroke and previews on so I can see it. Yep, there we go. 1 point's fine. Actually, I could probably do like a 0.5. It's not going to let me. I have to do 1 point. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. All right. Let me pull this back, and then so I just created that little square with a stroke. There we go. And then what are you looking for today? So I'm basically just plotting this out just like I'll have my template. You know, get it to being the same size ratio as what you had. I think this is a different font that I used here. It looks like a condensed Helvetica. Let's see. Okay. Condensed bold. More so. Okay. That was close enough. Here we go. All right. If you want to be consistent, let me go back and actually see what font I use because I should probably be consistent here. Go back to Illustrator. I know you guys can't see what I'm doing here, but what font did I use? Myriad Pro. I just used the D font there. Okay. So you would just change it to whatever if you did do it like your sketches in Illustrator, you could check out like the consistency of your font that you used. Getting it close to being where it was. Close enough here. There we go. Okay. And then obviously adding in the other stuff, candles, which is what I was searching for, my search bar here. Don't forget to add in the information down here. It just kind of helps the user know what they're looking at. The search feature helps you find products. Please type in the product you are searching for above. So just like a little prompt there. I spelled above wrong here. Okay. Looks good. Okay. That's pretty much set up. Now I can go and delete that this map altogether, this search screen that I pulled in here. I'm going to unlock it so I can delete it. Candles, let's bring this on top here. Why does that look weird? Okay, there we go. Okay, so you can save that, and there's your search screen. Actually, let's save this before we lose anything here. Assignment 4, and this should be your working file, so it's just the Photoshop file. And then I'll show you once we're done here how you can save this out. So now I have my search screen, and I can hide that. I have my location map, and I can hide that, and I have my home screen, and I can hide that. Okay, so the last screen we have is our 4th screen, search results screen. Let's place that in there. So you basically will be doing the same thing. Let me lock this and hide it, and then I'll just copy everything in here that's repeated. Pretty much everything I'm just going to grab and just drag down to make a copy, and then pull that up above. I'm going to hide my search screen, and I'm going to create a new group from layers. I'm going to name this search results. I'm going to pull this in there, and this should be below. There we go. But you guys understand kind of what I'm doing there with that. You know, pulling all the, it's pretty much everything's consistent. The only difference here, okay, is I would be placing in the candle in here image, okay? So let me do that. File, place, embedded. I'm just gonna go find that candle image, any image that, whatever you're looking for, that comes up in your search. Where's my candle image here? I know it's in here somewhere. Give me 1 second. There we go. I found it. Okay. So I'm going to place that in. And then I can always, let me pull this down, trim this. I have to rasterize it first here. Hold on. I'm rasterizing my smart object candle shape, and I'm just going to trim this so that it fits more of what I had for my template. Okay. All right. So at this point, I can delete this template in the background. I don't need that anymore. Let me unlock it. Now, the only thing I would do is change my navigation bar so that, you know, I'm on my map search. I would make that word just more bold, so I know that that's like the screen that I'm on. So I would go back up here on my navigation bar and just make this more bold. And I probably have to back step on my other screens to do the same thing because I didn't change that as I was going through. There's my character style, there we go. Everything's hidden behind all of the stuff that the chat box that we have here. Okay, so just make that word bold because that's the screen that we're on currently. You know, it's like weird, you can't see it. I'm gonna hide this layer altogether, and I'm gonna make my search screen viewable. And then I'm going to go and do the same thing here. Search screen and search results, the same thing. Oh, location map. That should be. That's wrong there. I'll have to fix that too. Just making it bold. Okay. And then I'll hide this. And the home screen, I don't have to worry about location map. Looks like there's not even space in between here because of how I have this, but I have to fix it anyway. So let me, where is this? This one? No. There it is right there. It's so hard to figure out where everything is when you have a lot of layers. That's why grouping it together is nice. And location map would be bold because we're on that particular screen here. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay. So there we go. We got them all together here. All right, so we got the home screen, location map screen, search screen, and search results screen. So all of our screens are in one PSD file, and you're just kind of grouping those layers together and hiding them so that when you're ready to export, just show each screen to export out. Okay, so make sure you save it before you do anything as a PSD file. So if you're working with a kiosk template, PSD mockup, you would be opening it up in Photoshop. And I actually don't have a mockup ready, so I'm going to take a 5-minute break. I'm going to get a mockup ready so I can at least show you how to do it that way. And then I'm going to show you how to do it in a different way if you want to use the kiosk that was given to you guys. All right, so give me 5 minutes here. I'll give you a little break from me, and then I'll show you go forward. Does that sound good? All right, I'll meet you back here in 5 minutes. Okay, can you guys hear me? Awesome, awesome. All right, so I was just kind of playing around with that. Beth, your mock-up that you shared with us, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to use that as an example just because it's easy and it's right there for me. So thank you. And it's like pretty much almost the same ratio. Oh, awesome. I think it's a little wider than mine is, but we can kind of quickly show you how to do a PSD mockup if you're unsure of how to do that. So Beth is so kind enough to share her free template here. And so when you download these templates, typically what happens in the layers is you'll see a whole bunch of different layers, but you don't really have to do anything with them. You really, what stands out typically in a PSD mockup for you to manipulate are maybe where it's highlighted. Typically there's a color code here, red, showing those are the smart objects that you can actually replace the screen with your screen. So look for those layers, and that's pretty much those layers that you need to manipulate. When you're ready to do that, what you need to do with your file is export this out each individual screen. And I was actually going about that, and I was running into some issues. I had actually quit out of Photoshop because I think I have too much stuff going on. I typically export or save out as JPEGs for a mock-up. So you can do a file save as, and I'm going to just name this screen 1, or I'll name this home screen so I know. Home screen JPEG, and I'm going to hit save. And what it's going to do is it's going to condense all in one as a JPEG, and it's on my desktop. All right, so I'm going to hide that one. The next one is my location map. So I'm going to just show that layer. I'm going to go File, Save As, a JPEG, and I'm going to name this location map. So I'm just kind of exporting each screen out from the same PSD file onto my desktop as JPEGs. Search screen, and you just need to hide the layers to do that. That way I have 4 individual screens to work with whenever I go to place them into my mockup, and then search result. So you'll have 4 JPEGs. Okay, any questions about that? What was the box that I unchecked? The embed coloring. That just kind of allows you to embed it a certain color for the web. I'm just unchecking that. I think that was it. Was that the thing I checked? Yeah. We're not converting the color or anything like that. Okay, so then I go back to my template. So this is the template that Beth allowed us to use here. And I'm going to go ahead and double click on my smart object thumbnail. So when I double click, it's going to take me to another tab. And this tab is going to show me what was on that screen that I can replace this with. So if I hide this, you can see it's going away. You can actually just trash this if you want. And then your work can be placed here. See how it says your work? I don't know if you can see this layer here. So we can go File, Place Embedded, and you're going to place that first home screen JPEG that we saved out as a JPEG. I'm going to go Place right in there, and it might look a little pixelated because, again, we're working at a lower pixel ratio. The important thing is at this point is to save it before you switch back to your template. So save it here, and before you close out, go switch over to your other tab. And what you might need to do in this case, there might be something in the way here. There we go. And I just kind of hit it so that it would apply it. And now what's going to happen is it's going to give you whatever kind of filters that this had. You can see a little sheen on this. because it's kind of showing it in a real life setting as being like a, effect that when you see it in a perspective, it's giving that little lightened screen look. But what it's doing is it's fitting it to this perspective. So that would be the first screen. So you can go ahead and file save this as home screen, and we're going to save this as a PSD file for now so that we can go back and change this if we need to. So PSD, I'm going to save to my desktop, and then that way we'll have this ready to go for our presentation as well for assessment 4. So once that's done, go ahead and do the same thing. Now you can get rid of this. Go ahead and get rid of that. Go back to your screen. Double click on your smart object again. And we're going to just replace this and delete that with your next screen, which is your location map screen. Okay. If that looks good, file save before you flip to the next tab. Go ahead and hide the eyeball and show it again if it's not showing on your screen, and then it'll place in there. That looks good. And again, file save as. We're going to name this location map, PSD, to my desktop. That way you can get into it again if you need to make any changes, and also export it out for your presentation for assessment 4. Okay, go back to this tab. I'm just going to delete this out, and then go back to your layers again. Double click. You can delete that layer. File place, embedded. We're going to do a search screen, JPEG. So once you have them ready to go, save, it's pretty easy to place in here. That's the search screen. So go ahead and file save as, search screen, PSD, desktop. Go back to your other tab, delete or get rid of it. Double click on your smart object, delete that screen, and import or file place embed your last screen, which is your search results screen, JPEG. Okay, file save, flip back to your PSD mockup, click on the little eyeball to place, and export it out as your last search results screen, desktop. So we have to have 4 screen PDFs for the assignment. Yes, but and let me reiterate what's going on with that too. Hold on one second. I just got kicked out of Photoshop. Yep, having problems with that. So let me bring that up again. This is assessment. Let's go back to your assignment. So for this, basically all that you're doing for this assignment is you are creating your flat screens. So you're going to create a multi-page PDF presentations of your screens and mock-ups. You're going to do your flat screen. Without ads, you're going to have those. So let's open those. Oh, I spelled that wrong. Or you can actually not even go to the JPEG. Go back to your Photoshop file, your original one, and just export out as a PDF. You can't hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, I think I have my hand on my microphone area. Can you hear me now? Okay. Sorry guys. It's where my hand goes on my computer. Okay, so what I meant by that is we had to export them out as JPEGs to place them in our mockups, right? But for presentation's sake, for assignment 4, at this point, once you're done exporting them out and saving them, you're going to go ahead and save as. You're going to do the same thing, only you're going to choose Photoshop PDF. So you're going to go through each screen, home screen, save it out as a PDF, Photoshop PDF. This can be a small file, that's fine. And you're just going to do the same thing as we did before. So location map, file save as. You're going to have a lot of files, so just kind of make sure you keep this organized. Oop, sorry guys. So I was just basically doing what I was showing you before with JPEGs, but I'm saving this out as PDFs. So this would be search screen. I already did the home screen and the location map screen. Smallest file size up here, click OK. Hide that, search result. This is the last screen. I already did the home screen, same way, and the location map screen. So it's just like basically doing the same thing over and over again, but just different file formats. Okay, so that's a great question. How do you combine them together? So I'm going to show you that. Let me share my desktop here. So I saved all my files. I'm going to show you where they all went. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to name this assignment 4, and you can put it, in your files there. And I'm just going to dump everything in here so I can organize this as I go here. Okay. It gets confusing, so you have to be organized. Okay, so in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a folder named JPEGs. And I'm just going to place all my JPEGs in there. Just getting organized here. I'm going to make a folder named PDF. I'm going to put all my PDFs in there. This is so you don't drive yourself crazy and you know where everything is. And then new folder, I'm going to name this working files. Working files typically mean these are kind of the original like PSD or Illustrator files that you can go back to and change if you need to. So remember we did working files for your flat screens and your mock-ups. Also for your other, any PSD files you'll place in your working files. And then we'll do a ping. Okay, so this just gets you so you kind of know where everything is and it's not driving you nuts. So now I can see all my PDFs, all my JPEGs, all my ping files, and all my working files so that I can go and easily access this. So yes, got to be clear. Okay, so PDF. Once I'm done exporting my PDF, so we did JPEGs for the mockups. Okay, we did pings for when we were placing them into Photoshop. That's what that's for. Your working files, we did your working file for your screens and for your mockups. So PDFs, we made PDFs of the home screen, location map, search screen, and search result screen, which these two should be switched. So let's add an X to this, and I'll put it last. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna double click on the home screen PDF, and in here, hopefully you'll see the same on your end. If not, let me know. You should have a tools option here. If you click on tools, you'll have the option to create and edit and combine files. So go ahead and click on Combine Files. And you can add files by clicking on this little Add Files. Yep. And you'll be like, okay, now I'm going to go to my folder and I'm going to select all my PDFs. So go ahead and do a Shift Select and Add Files. And they should be in order. If they're not in order, you can move them around. That's okay. No, I was going to go over that anyway, so that was good. This is in order, so I'm good, but you can delete them, you can zoom in on them. But what the important step is, you just want to hit Combine, and you're going to rename this. So you can see now it's one of 4, and you can flip through each one of these. And that's when you save it as your PDF file that you're going to submit it for. So DES, whatever it said to save it as, DES240 assignment 4, first and last name. And we're going to save this to the desktop for now. And there you go. So that's the one right here. Submit final PDF presentation of your screens, but we don't have the mock-ups yet, right? So we have to do the mock-ups. So let's go ahead and open up the mock-ups. But what we do have is we have a nice, let me just get rid of that. Don't save. We do have a nice folder, very organized, of all of our working files. Yep. It seems like a lot, but I think once you guys get into it, you'll be fine. Now I'm going to do a select, Shift Select all 4 screens of my PSD files to open. And this is in Photoshop, so I have to export them out for as a PDF. Oh, you'll be fine. If you know, we're going to have another lecture tomorrow, which I'll have lots of open time to help you guys if you run into any issues. So, okay. And so now I have all of my screens up here. So I'm going to get my home screen up. Yay. With the home screen up, I'm just going to save export as or save as, and we're going to save this as PDFs. And I'm going to just throw this right on my desktop, and I'll pull them into my folders as needed. Smallest file's fine. So once I'm done with my home screen, go to the, oh, it might take a little while here. Just yelled at me. It says, it's not done yet. Don't close out. We'll go to the next one. Now, these are going to be bigger files, okay? Because the mock-up files are always bigger. There's a way that you can downsize this, but let's go ahead and see how big the PDF is first before I even go into that. Just make sure smallest file size is selected for PDF purposes. That'll make your file smaller in terms of the overall size too. Okay, location map, search screen, PDF. And we have search results screen. Did we save that? Search screen, home screen, map screen. That's the one I don't have. I don't know why. Search screen result. Oh, okay, it's giving me an error, that's why. All right, it's giving me an error, so let me open this up. I'm gonna redo that one. For some reason, it seems like it's giving me issues here. So let me save this as search result. You guys probably don't have to worry about this, but it's giving me issues, so let's go ahead and change this. Yeah, you might need to rewatch it, and that's fine. You know, I do the same thing when I do trainings. I rewatch, rewind, search result. Okay, so I'm looking for my JPEGs. Sorry guys, I'm like losing my mind here. There we go. There we go. I just had to resave this out because for some reason it almost seems like it was corrupt or something. It wasn't showing as anything, and then it was giving me a weird error. So I'm gonna just resave this, and I'm gonna do, yeah, PDF. Desktop PDF search results. Yeah, that's exactly what I want. Okay, so now I should have, and I might have to replace these in here. If I go to PDF in my folder, I'm gonna go ahead and dump these in. Stop. Let's actually name these. We're gonna have to name these different because these are home screens. So let's go ahead and rename these mock-ups, or else it's gonna try to rename them. You guys see what I'm doing here? Home screen mock-up. One more right here. Okay, so you should have a total of 8. I'm gonna just throw this in there. That was the file that you're also going to submit, which is your flat screen files. Okay, so, and I showed you how to combine these. So there's 4 in here, right? So if I wanted to add all of them, I just go to combine files. So you should really have them all ready to go, PDF wise. You don't have to worry about doing this one right now. Just put all of your flat screens. That was the one that I resaved or renamed. So just ignore that one. And I'm just going to do a shift select. All right, so now I would order these a little bit better here because they're not quite in order. So I would do the home screen, location map screen would go next. And then the search screen, flat files is what I'm talking about. And then search result. And then I would say that this is the home screen, pretty much reflected of that. Location map, search, and search result. So these two would flip. There we go. All right, so you get that. So this is the order it goes in right here. Hit combine, and I'm just going to rename this. It's going to be a total of 8 pages. So kind of like doing that same step over again and just renaming it again because I have them all now. I'm at 4. I'm just going to do new so I know that that's the new one. This is the old one. And let's see how big this file is here because I'm curious. What's the file size is? So when I open your file, this is what I should see for assignment 4. I should see a flat home screen, a flat location map screen, flat search screen, and a flat results search screen. And then, well, I'll get to that in a second here. And then I should see a flat mock-up home screen, a flat mock-up location map screen, a flat search screen mock-up, and a research result. So 8 pages. So that's the file that you'll be submitting. Let me erase this file because this one isn't the one you need. Let's do a Command I. Oh, it's huge, 222.6 megabytes. Because the mock-up is so big, let's go back to the working files here. There's a lot of effects going on here. I'm going to go to image size. This is the PSD file size. Okay. This is the reason. You see this here? I go into image size. It's set at 600 resolution. We don't really need that, right? We just need it to be, yeah, that's okay. We're going to set this to 300 and look at how the size goes significantly down. So 38.6 megabytes it was. Yep, and now it's 9.66. We still kind of want this to go further down, but I don't want the quality to be to suffer. So if anything, I may just make the width a little bit smaller. And as long as you have this linked, it's going to do it together. Oops, what am I doing? Hold on one second. An image size, 300. Yeah, so I would say like maybe do a 5:3. I wouldn't mess with the resolution just because I don't want that to affect the way that I don't want it to be rastered, I guess. Let's do 100% and see what that looks like. That looks pretty good. And this is like 4 megabytes now. And then another thing that you can do is compress all of your layers. But I would say if you did that, you need to do that. I would say you can compress all of your layers. Try this first. And then we'll go from there. So if yours might be different, just check the size of it there. If you're trying to upload it and it's giving you problems, that will be a tall tale sign that you have issues with your file size. Small PDF size is good there. So go ahead and open up all of your, let me open up the rest here. Home screen. Yeah, so that's still kind of like a big file there. 7 megabytes. Yeah, so that particular one is a little big. Let me see if I can get that any smaller without dealing with the size. Let me go down a little bit more in the resolution. Let's do 200. That might work. Let's do file save as, PDF. Oh, this is the old one here. Let me delete that. .1 megabytes. So that's not too bad. Let me see what the quality looks like. See how the quality's, it's 100. Let's see what 100% looks like. Yeah, so I really want to keep it as much as 300 pixels per inch and just save it out as a lower res PDF so that we don't have any issues with quality. So just go into your mockup. If you're doing a mockup, do file image size, and just make sure that this is at 300 and that the size isn't too big. I can even go down smaller in size here to make it smaller. I would rather do that than mess with the resolution, if that makes sense for you guys. And if you're keeping your original file, you can always go back if it's looking terrible as a PDF, and you can kind of change it based on that. Oops, it's 200%. Yeah, that's always like the issue. Now I know there's going to be some pixelization because you do have 72 pixels per inch in regards to your mockup setup, but I just don't want you to have any issues with size. If you just pay attention to that, going to the image size and changing it to that 300. If it's at 600, that will significantly change your file so it's not as big. But that's kind of what you submit, you know, that's what you'll submit your PDF, and it'll have 8 pages. It'll have both your presentation of your screens and mock-ups. Feel free if you want to zip your PDF too, just to make sure, that's fine. I know somebody just asked that. You guys know how to do that, right? Zipping it, okay. And then when you're ready to upload it, you're gonna upload it, but you won't be able to upload it as a PDF. Behance does not accept PDFs. So what you're gonna do is just upload your JPEGs. So if you need to export your, this is another thing, if you need to export your mock-ups as JPEGs, you'll need to do that at that point. I don't know if did I do that already? Let me see. What do we have as JPEGs here? Okay, we just have the flat screen. So what you'll need to do is go back to your working files and just go ahead and open these and save them out as JPEGs. Just go File, Save As, and change this to JPEG. And that's what you'll upload to Behance. Any questions about that? I know I kind of went really fast on certain things, but let me open up these. So does everybody know how to upload to Behance? I'll share that tomorrow. Well, just because I went over a lot of stuff, I don't want to overwhelm you too much. I'll go over that tomorrow. I'm just kind of showing you how to export this out. Okay, good. Yeah, you have this video to reference to. So yeah, just it's a whole bunch of, you know, the key point I make is just being organized with your files, because you can see how many exports, different types of files that you need. And it just gets so confusing after a while. So, you know, just being very organized will help with time, frustration, and the ease and the smoothness of how you go back and forth between your files so that you're not confused and overwhelmed. You know, it kind of allows you to not be all freaked out. Paying attention to detail, yeah. And you guys should be in a good habit of doing that anyway, because if you work for any type of firm, an ad agency, even as a freelance designer, you have to keep everything pretty much in check for your own good. So you're not, you know, time is money. And if you're spending all day trying to figure out where everything is, you're losing out on money. So why go through all that frustration when you can be very organized in the beginning? That was one of the big key things when I went to school. They were very adamant on, you know, with your organizational skills, just being very organized. So here I have all my JPEGs. Here's my flat screen and also my mock-up JPEGs all in one folder. So once I go to Behance, I have everything ready in a folder, ready to go. And I would even suggest, and I'll go over this tomorrow, creating a Behance folder as well. So you can see here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 folders. I mean, you can even stick the JPEGs in your Behance folder. That's fine, as long as you know where they are and that's where they are. And once you log into Behance, you have them all in one folder. You're not searching, you know, because look at all these files. All these files together, I mean, it gets confusing. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. I went over a lot. If you guys need me to go over anything tomorrow, what I just went over, if you're confused about anything, I will. If you're working on something and you're having issues with it, we'll have time to look at it tomorrow if you come in to lecture. And we will be going over assessment 4, which is the presentation part, but that shouldn't really take real long. It's just a matter of plopping those JPEGs that you already exported out into your InDesign layout that they actually provide you a template for. So that'll go really quick. So we're going to have a lot of time to have you guys if you need extra help tomorrow. And I know I kind of went a little over today. I apologize, but sometimes that happens. All right, guys. Let me share my screen here. Here we go. Any questions before we wrap it up today? No problem, Katie. You're welcome. We have to learn the right way to do the last project. Yep. It's just a lot of back and forth, saving out as different the correct file options. Oh, you're welcome. All right, well, hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow. Get started on your discussions. Don't forget about your integration quiz. Take that. And anyone who owes me work, get it in as soon as possible. We are in the last stretch. You have one more week, so let's end strong. All right, you guys have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully. All right, thanks, guys.